Following the series against the Padres, the Braves made a couple of transactions, optioning Ray Kerr and Bryce Elder. Now, one of these is obviously not the other. Bryce Elder has definitely struggled, particularly against good teams, the two good teams, good offenses he faced, the Padres and the Dodgers. He was actually clobbered and did not give the Braves a chance to win. I think most people expected that could be on the horizon after the Padres game. But after that Bryce Elder start, Ray Kerr relieved him. He pitched decently well, pitched another 3 innings, shown that he's gone multiple innings. Brian Snitker comes out and says Ray Kerr could be a guy they use in the starting rotation. And then after game 2 of yesterday's doubleheader, they optioned him to Gwinnett. They might have just felt like they needed another arm. It kind of feels like that. Ray Kerr has pitched a lot over the last week, so maybe they just wanted to give another arm. Manipulating this roster, I don't know how they're going to do it. Maybe they go up and give Allen Winans and Dylan Dodd, because they're going to need a couple of starters, because someone has to fill in that Bryce Elder spot, and someone has to fill in, because there was a doubleheader yesterday in which Lopez and Sale pitched. There's going to be 2 starters they need later in this week. It looks like Ray Kerr's off the table. Maybe they do a Phantom IL stint for somebody. I'm not really quite sure, but they're going to need 2 starters later this week to fill those 2 spots.
Yeah, and Ray Kerr's pitched pretty impressively thus far, and I think that's why a lot of Braves fans are a little bit taken back. But again, the 14 games in 15 days, the fact that also it's not like Daysbel Hernandez is some bum. The guy absolutely deserves a shot in the major leagues. He's been lights out in Gwinnett. So it's both things are working, and like the Braves have guys who deserve shots, and it just so happens the schedule kind of dictates we need fresh arms. I'm super excited to see Daysbel Hernandez eventually this week, whether it be against the Cubs or the Pirates, I don't know. But I am super excited to see him back in Atlanta. As far as Bryce Elder, I don't know. I've been going to bat for him. Same with you, Chase. It just doesn't look like he has that same control that he had in the first part of last season, where he was inducing very, very soft contacts. He's still getting a ton of ground balls, but it just looks like, I don't know if it's a confidence thing. It's obviously a controlled thing, but he does need to go back to Gwinnett and work on his stuff.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's the same problems that, scarred him at the second half of last season. And a lot of it does stem from his control, because that's who he is. He's a control pitcher. He's not going to blow you away with his stuff. He's a guy that lives around the edges. He's a guy that induces soft contact. And if he's missing his spots, not only is the potential there for him to get hit hard, which has happened often early this season, but there's also the potential for him to walk batters. And when you're already giving up enough hits, because Bryce Elder's he's always going to give up some hits. He's never going to be the guy to go out there and throw a no-hitter. He's going to give up some contact, going to give up some hits. They're going to fall, get some runs. But when you combine that with walks and you put yourself in even worse situations, it's really hard for a guy like him to succeed. It's the exact same issues that plagued him in the second half of last year. And yes, it is fair to wonder, how many more opportunity he does have. I mean, listen, I've gone to bat for this man as many times. I've been there, saying that Bryce Elder, he could be a piece, he could be a piece, he could be a piece. But you get to this point where, eventually AJ Smith-Shawver is going to be ready. Eventually Hurston Waldrop's going to be ready. Then you got guys like Spencer Schwellenbach and Owen Murphy waiting in the wings. We have Darius Vines potentially making a start. He's an option. Dylan Dodd. Like, there are other guys that are deserving of opportunities. And if anybody runs away with it, Bryce Elder, when are you going to get your next shot? We really don't know. So I don't know how many opportunities he's going to have. And I think that's a fair question to ask. Even though I wouldn't give up on him, I'm not going to say he could never potentially be in this rotation again. It's a fair question to ask how many more opportunities he's going to have at the major league level, without a doubt.
He's young. He's had that success, that first half of last season, all-star campaign. Even if he benefited it a little bit, in the luck department, it was still a very, productive first half of the season. He's extremely young. He's under team control for several years. There's no reason to give up on him this early when pitching is what pitching is in the MLB. You can never have enough of it, and you don't just sell guys because they're not doing well. And the Braves have the luxury of kind of stashing them in Gwinnett and kind of cycling through that 5th spot in the rotation. But to just give up on them, I mean, that's absolutely ludicrous talk.
I mean, it depends what you mean by give up on him. I mean, he could be a guy that ends up trading. I mean, you saw how they dealt with Michael Soroka, Kyle Wright, and stuff like that. And they didn't trade him for much. Maybe they trade him for a reliever. Maybe they do something like that. Give him another fresh landing spot. I don't know when that's going to happen.
I'd say they gave up on Soroka.
I highly doubt they're going to do that this year. But even in giving up on Michael Soroka, and I know they shipped off like guys like Jared Schuster, who a lot of people could say is like a left-handed Bryce Elder. I mean, not exactly the sexiest stuff. you go up, you package some guys, you get a guy like Aaron Bummer, who's been a very good reliever for the Braves early this season. Listen, I don't know what the diagnosis is for Bryce Elder. I don't know if he's going to figure it out in Atlanta. I know there's a lot of arms waiting in the wings.
That we're all mentioned Ian Anderson, who's
that we're all really excited to see and could make an impact down the stretch. And you got to wonder, if this is the end of the road for Bryce Elder in Atlanta, especially if he doesn't pitch well in Gwinnett. But to Daysbel Hernandez, he did pitch 1 inning against the Padres. Pretty much lights out. I mean, this is a guy that was on the major league roster for the playoffs last season. That's actually the last time we saw him was game 3 of the NLDS in that blowout loss, pitched by who? Bryce Elder. Daysbel Hernandez, I mean, amazing stuff. I mean, a guy who's averaging over 12 strikeouts per 9 in the minor leagues over his minor league career. I really think Daysbel Hernandez could be a staple of this rotation, not just this year, but for many years to come. And this has been a long time coming for him to get this opportunity. So really excited to see him pitch. Kerr is going to be back. It's just a matter of time. Wouldn't be surprised if they went and stretched him out in Gwinnett, gave him, maybe a start there, see how he handles it. And then if he handles that well, he'll be in the rotation. And I want to say one last thing. I know I'm kind of going on a rant here, but is it kind of funny that Alex Anthopoulos might have found this blind spot in the market and the fact that there's these relievers out there that could be had for cheap because starting pitching is so expensive that you could potentially move to the rotation. And I know it's worked out. It looks like gold so far with Ronaldo Lopez, but It's just another example of like Alex Anthopoulos kind of thinking differently than the rest of the league and it just paying off in spades.
Yeah, I don't think Ronaldo Lopez is going to be the standard. I think Ronaldo Lopez will be the anomaly, and we're going to see it happen and fail.
But it's happened. But it's happening across the league right now.
I see what you're saying, but I do think that it's happening. I'm blanking on his name, Giants guy.
Jordan Hicks.
Jordan Hicks is right there with Ronaldo Lopez, who's come from the bullpen and has had success in a starting rotation. But I also think that, the Braves and Giants aren't necessarily these teams that it's like teams try to emulate what the Braves and Giants do, so to speak. And it feels very, Colorado Rockies or some White Sox team to try it, and it just blows up in their face. That's what I mean. It doesn't seem like it's going to be a standard.
No, I mean, I don't think it's going to be a standard, but the facts are the facts. And the facts are that Alex Anthopoulos kind of has an eye for talent when it comes to these sort of things. I'm not saying people won't try it and fail.
No, I feel like it's a certainty that people are going to try it and they're going to fail.
Yeah, I don't disagree, but I think, what Alex Anthopoulos has done in finding this kind of niche this year when it was really hard to find starting pitching and turning Ronaldo Lopez is probably the best move of the entire offseason to this point. Maybe you could say something about Imanaga and something the Cubs. He's been unbelievable. But for 3 years, $30 million, Ronaldo Lopez, best bargain in baseball, in my opinion.